Customer funnels are completely obsolete. If you are new to marketing, if you are a small brand or a startup, you may put time and effort into building a customer funnel. And I'm here to tell you to stop. The way people interact with brands has changed. And if you are small or starting out, you don't have the time, energy, or money to build out a process or a system that will not drive sales or brand love. This video is going to show you what to do instead of spending time building a customer funnel. I'm Gina. I'm a marketing director from South London, and I've spent over 15 years working with startups and small brands, building out their marketing from scratch. I'm here to show you you don't need a ton of money, time, and resources in order to build good marketing. This video is going to show you why the customer funnel is no longer necessary in modern marketing. It's then going to tell you what you should be doing instead. Then I'm going to show you how to build this new function for yourself wherever you are in your journey so that you can drive more customer acquisition. And I'm going to end on a tip that's going to show you how you can make this new function self-propelling so you have to do less work when it comes to growing your brand and growing your revenue. So why not a marketing funnel? Well, modern marketing has changed because modern consumption has changed. People are no longer interested in just what you sell. They're interested in who you are as a brand, what you stand for, and the value you give them outside of just their product. A marketing funnel is too linear. It starts with a wide audience and then it narrows it down to a subset of buyers on a linear journey. What tends to happen is once that journey is complete, the brand moves on to the next buyer. Marketing funnels tend to take people from that broad audience and carry them along, telling them the value of their product until they are converted into a sale. Where this is now missing the mark is that people don't want to just be sold one thing. They want to look to brands who are fulfilling parts of their lifestyle. With a marketing funnel, what tends to happen is you are telling great stories about great products to get people to an end point rather than to get people to buy into your brand as a whole. So what do you do instead of a marketing funnel? Well, you build a flywheel. A flywheel is a non-linear way to look at your audience, to look at your buyers, and make sure that they are always within your ecosystem as a brand. A flywheel is a circular model instead of linear. And this focuses on continuous attraction and retention of your customers. Any input at any point of the flywheel feeds back into the system and pushes momentum and aids growth. A flywheel over a funnel ensures that you are retaining your customers, you're building trust, you're building brand loyalty, you're building confidence, and you are growing your revenue. The movement from funnel to flywheel has been coming for a few years as consumers are behaving more like fans over buyers. People are looking to spend their money where they feel that brands align with their lifestyles. By moving to a flywheel model, we can create more community, more advocacy, more loyalty, and more ways in which our audience grows with us because they are constantly being served messaging and marketing that keeps them in this circular motion. Rather than just joining at the beginning and dropping off at the end, they are constantly propelling forward how your brand shows up in their daily lives. So how do you build a flywheel from scratch? Well, there is a formula to this. You need to build the self-feeding elements of your brand. What this normally looks like is attracting, engaging, and delighting. So attracting your core audience, talking to them, making them feel part of something, and then giving them something that makes them happy. This, at its simplest form, is how you can take a flywheel and build it yourself, these 3 stages. But let's go a bit deeper into what the newer generations and what the modern marketing is looking at and build a 4-wheel flywheel. When we look at brands that are driving the biggest growth at the moment, they are building their flywheel around community, inspiration, elevation, and then loyalty. And they're building it in this way because they understand that the focus on the audience and how you give value to them first is how you generate huge growth. So how do you do that yourself? You want to take this formula and identify what your brand can do within those aspects. If you're a small brand, if you're a startup, if you're doing this by yourself, you know that you don't have all of the resources, but you can find one anchoring point in each of these parts of the flywheel, which you will be able to execute on. You may be able to do this independently when you think about those 4 points of community, inspiration, exploration, and loyalty. But let me break that down for you to give you a bit of inspiration yourself on how you could execute this quite easily. When we talk about community, we think about giving value, joining people who are like-minded and showing that you have something that shows up in their day-to-day life. You can do this yourself through forums, through user-generated content, through starting discussions, through going to events and meetups, and by making sure that your social is talking about people rather than your product. So this first pillar that will become self-propelling is a community, a sense of value and offering of other people and like-minded people, and that your brand is like others. The next pillar is inspiration, and this tends to come from things like content and social. You know your audience well, and so you know what inspires them and what drives them, and you are offering that as a brand. You are offering them different ways in which they can elevate their understanding, in which they can be inspired in their day-to-day, and in which they find your brand inspirational and of the same values as them. When we look at exploration, this is where more of your product comes in. So more product-led content, more ways in which people can explore who you are as a brand and how you drive value. And this is very much driven around what they as an audience will need in order to feel valued, or the pain point that you are taking away. So it's the joy, it's the feeling valued, or it's the pain point you're removing. In the exploration stage, what you are doing is inserting your product or your service for them to discover. And then after this, you are having that loyalty phase. So this is where you build your feedback loops. This is where you build your communication out. This is where you also give exclusivity. So you give things like sneak peeks or specialized social or email offers. With that, you are then building more community. You are creating feedback loops, you are creating forums for people to speak, you are creating that community of constant communication between your audience and your brand. And so you are building more and more people that are more and more vocal about you and your brand. From that, they will then start inspiring others. Within your community, you can then add additional inspiration, more social, more content, more collabs, more meetups. From that, you can then drip feed more of your product and more of your service. And there you will build even more brand ambassadors. So do you see how this flywheel is self-propelling? You can enter at any point and drive value for your core audience, and it will self-propel itself round. There is no start, there is no end, there is just constant value anchored around exactly what your audience needs. And this is why we always start with audience, because before you build this flywheel, you need to know what your audience needs from you, or what value you can give your audience. And your flywheel of community, inspiration, exploration, and loyalty is built around exactly what your audience can get from you. Now, to actually build this into your marketing, you need to go a step further. If you are a small brand, if you're a startup, you might have a couple of people working in your marketing department. If you're doing this by yourself, you need to lay this out for yourself anyway, because if you don't set the processes up, you may not be able to execute. But you need to align yourself around this flywheel. You need to know how you are going to feed each aspect. There is no point building huge community and then not having any inspiration within there to push people around, because you will get a flat flywheel. There is no point having community and inspiration but no interest for your exploration of your product, because you will just build a community that will never convert and monetize. So you need to make sure that you get yourself aligned to what you are doing at each stage of this flywheel. And if you are just starting out, you only need to do 1 or 2 activities. Don't over-engineer things, but just make sure that you've got a point of reference for each part of that flywheel. If you are doing this by yourself or you're incredibly small, start with social. You can execute all 4 aspects of this flywheel with your social. You need to represent your ideal buyer. Make them feel like they've got a home with you. Make them feel like you get them, they get you, and they can connect directly to you. And show your brand, show your product and service. Doing this all on social is a great free way to get started. And when you do this on social, make sure you're checking out some of my other videos and courses so that you are making sure you are doing things properly across your social content strategy. But you need to make sure that you've got something within each part of this flywheel, and you need to then measure it. You want to measure what you are driving with each aspect of the flywheel. Funnels used to be about conversion at each stage, but flywheels are more aligned to momentum and growth over time. Metrics that align with your flywheel will be things like in community, you're looking at engagement rate, you're looking at your community growth. In inspiration, you're looking at your content reach and engagement, or your influencer engagement if you are using that. Within exploration, this is where we see our conversion rate. This is where we see you talking about your product and what you can do. And then in loyalty, we're looking at retention, repeat purchases, and customer feedback loops. So there you have what you need to build instead of your customer journey. You have a 4-wheeled flywheel. This is a great way to start when you are literally starting out, but if you are a more advanced brand, you may have different stages within this flywheel, but they will always align with a sense of attract, engage, and delight. You are looking to attract people into your flywheel, but then continue to attract and engage your current customers to make sure you're not falling trap of the obsolete funnel, which is just attracting purchase. With a marketing funnel, you are basically starting from scratch every time and re-attracting your same audience because they have purchased one product or used one service and you haven't spoken to them, you haven't built them into that flywheel, you've just kind of let them drop. So every time you do a marketing campaign, you'll be starting from that broad audience again, even if they're a purchaser already. With a flywheel, that funnel never closes. That self-propelling circle makes sure that every marketing campaign you do brings people back to the attract, brings people back to the community, and make sure that your audience grows as you grow as a brand. So how do you make this super self-propelling? What is fantastic about a flywheel is that you can propel it at any stage. When you start building your flywheel and executing on it, you might find that your product content does more to propel your flywheel. You might find that your heavy stance on community drives more than your other activities. But the number one way in which you make sure that your flywheel is self-propelling is you put your audience first. You focus on your customer. The flywheel is different from a funnel because you are a brand, but you are building this around your customer. You are not a brand, you are a voice for your customer. So whether you are small, mid, or solo, build everything with your customer in mind. Your messaging, your social, your comms, your community. By building it with your customer first and showing them what value you give them and what value you have as a brand, you will self-propel within your customer flywheel. Brands that stick are those that focus on what they can do with their customers within a flywheel rather than what they can get them to spend by taking them on a linear journey. Hope you found this helpful. Please do like, subscribe, and I'll speak to you next week.